Excuse me. Gotta believe. We're live.
We live. Shout out to all the Mets fans out there. I also think even if you're not a Mets fan, this will be fun for you. It's sports banter. It's a bracket to fill your NCAA tournament void, which we'd be what? This would be like the week in between. This would be the Elite Eight, Final Four, right? We'd be like,
yeah. So what is it? It's Friday, Saturday, Monday.
Right. And then we would have the Final Four. Then we'd have the Final Four and championship Monday next week, right?
Yeah, I was on with Reegs on No Quitters. If you're a challenge fan, subscribe to No Quitters on iTunes now. It's back. It's quarantine times. I said the government stimulus. It was like the fine print. No Quitters must come back because there's no fucking content out there. I was talking to him and he got a reminder from Delta yesterday. It was like, his boarding pass to go to, I think it was Atlanta is where the Final Four was. And he's like, it was such a kick in the goddamn. And I saw K Marco got his from Mexico. I got mine. I was supposed to go to day one of the tournament up in Albany, which is Siena's like home stadium. And it's like all this shit. Large has a vacation for next week. He's going to get a notification for his boarding pass. It's just a fucking kick in the dick every single day, along with like the thousands of people who die every day.
We were supposed to take a vacation, KFC Radio. I guess it was last week. It's going to be my first vacation in 5 years. And Fights was going to go to Europe. I didn't even have any plans. I was just going to be unplugged and get away. And now I'm more plugged in than fucking ever. But hey, no use crying over it. Let's make the best of it. And we're here to do let's be optimistic and make the best of it with a Mets live stream. Polar opposite there. We're going to be doing a breakdown of Mets misery because One Shining Mets dude on Twitter put together what I believe is truly the most comprehensive breakdown of Mets fan misery. If you're a fan of the Pirates and the fuck the Royals now, they've won, the Indians, the Padres, and you want to make the argument that you have the worst fanhood, you can try. You can make your argument, but I challenge you first to look at these 64 moments in history, which are staggeringly bad, embarrassing, miserable, whatever adjective you want to use to describe it. I think this will be proof positive that being a Mets fan is the worst baseball existence on the planet.
I say this with no hyperbole. You could have done another 64 with that, and it's not even that hard, I don't think. I mean, there's enough. There's probably like 10 legitimate moments from last season that didn't even make it. I don't think I think Cohen's on the list, but there's like 3 different parts of the Steve Cohen saga already. The Beltran getting fired, I don't think Steven there's so much goddamn.
I don't even know if Edwin Diaz and his whole existence is on there. It's definitely there's definitely a couple misses because the dude had to, the guy had to make a cutoff somewhere to get to 64. So a lot of teams are on the bubble and didn't make it. But what we're going to do here for the first now 20 minutes is start the bracket at 1 p.m. 1:05 start is a Maze Sims. We're going to do a Mets simulated game, which me and Clem did on opening day, which was very fun. If you haven't done it yet, MLB The Show, they do a simulated game using the video game. And it's quick, it's fast. There's no time in between pitches. You can do like a whole game in about an hour. And honestly, it's the closest thing you're going to get to real sports. It's not real, but on opening day when DeGrom gave up a couple homers and when Robbie Cano went deep on Max Scherzer, I was juiced up. I had the blood flowing. So maybe it's just quarantine brain speaking. But I got my fix. I got my Mets fix. And honestly, last night I got my Mets fix. I watched the Frank the Tank Periscope from the game, the big one last year, the Nationals collapse. That was not normal. That was not human. Like he was possessed that night when he was going like words weren't even coming out of his mouth, and that was the most psychotic breakdown of a fan I've ever seen in my life.
It was like as fucked up as it sounds. like when you go to Twitter and we're all just wallowing in our misery and Frank the Tank is melting down and saying they're never going to win another game again, it makes me feel better. I'm like, well, at least we have this content and we're all in this together. And it is like kind of Mets fans anonymous, where when everything hits the fan and we're all just relapsing one way or the other, it does make me feel better. And Frank is, God bless his soul, like even when you're riding high, he'll be like, Michael Conforto stinks. He's terrible. Trade him. As we're like on a 12-game winning streak and he hits walk-off bombs. But that makes me feel better in the end.
He's the short circuit king, like the fan just said. He like his brain just shuts off, and like that night, that game, I was having a meltdown, and I saw him, and it makes me go like, all right, okay, let's calm down, let's keep things in perspective. Like usually, I'm the craziest one, and there's nobody to help me through it. But having him be even further than I am, I can say to myself like, well, all right, we shouldn't be having like mental fractures and psychotic breaks. So yeah, thank you for your service, Frank. I don't think it's intentional, but you certainly helped me get along. So let's get right into it. We'll start in the East region, which is what you have up on the screen right now. Actually, first, let's just quickly go through the 1 seeds. Beltran looking off in general, the 2007 collapse and the Duda throw in Game 5. I would say for sure Beltran, collapse, and Madoff. The Duda throw, I guess the Duda throw just kind of like encapsulates the 2015 World Series, so that kind of needs to be in there. But
the Duda throw is devastating. Have you seen the Duda throw?
Done. Like it was like there's no single moment. I think that should just be like the 2015 World Series where we had the lead 89% of the way and somehow lost in 5 games. Because by then, there was already the Familia homer in Game 1. There was the Daniel Murphy error. There was the inside the park home run on Cespedes. There was the no way moment from Harvey. It just like that was the final nail in the coffin.
Going back to Kansas City, winning the Harvey game that they would have almost blown, and he should be out by 20 feet.
No, he shouldn't have even run. Like they should have just been like staying put had they just played normal defense. And here's the reason why I don't put that as a 1 seed, because I still believe that David Wright does not get enough heat for that. He does his fucking triple punch, triple clutch, and then he just lollipops it over like he always used to, and Duda had to rush it. If that guy, just like a professional third baseman, feels the ball, actually, if he doesn't cut off who was playing short at that point, I think he should have just stayed the fuck away from that altogether. But if he just plants himself and throws the ball like a goddamn major leaguer, I don't even think Hosmer even tries the run. So that to
when
me,
the ball crosses the plate, Hosmer is not even in the circle. He's not even in the dirt circle. He's 15 feet away minimum.
Yeah,
he probably breaks his shoulder going in head first, and they don't have him. And we have who do we have? Syndergaard and DeGrom or whatever.
I know what you mean, but that series was over anyway. I mean,
there's no chance we win. There's absolutely no chance we win. But those 2 games would be great.
You know what?
Fuck it. All around the field. Huh?
Kyle, pull up the Duda gif. We got to watch it. We got to watch it. Just pull it up. We got to fucking watch it. I don't want to do it. We're twisting the nail inside ourselves 64 times.
Let me find it, but that's brutal.
I mean, I just had a whole fucking bag of frozen buffalo strips, and I'm like getting nauseous to my stomach right now. Like I think it's gonna make me like actually sick. Oh,
also, Steve Cohen. Where is Steve Cohen ranked?
I can't even put it up on the screen. It's so bad. Oh,
give it. Just fucking put it in my eyeballs. Fucking,
hold on.
Coronavirus robbed me of every feeling anyway. So it's not even. I'm not even gonna feel anything. Who gives a shit?
Oh man,
don't do this. I'm literally trying to spit in my throat to go up.
All right, here it comes.
I'm not watching this.
All right, good. It's your fucking brother who keeps sending it. Just give it to me.
That person in the back just like, no.
Oh, God, it's so bad. You can't even see him. He's not even on the screen.
He almost hit the umpire.
It's such a bad throw. It's so.
Look at the lady. Do you see the lady in the background? Hands up.
I was at this game. I
Me
walked
too.
straight out. I just immediately left.
I was sitting in right field, so I had that exact view.
Oh.
Oh my God.
That was
Now, this is the thing about David Wright. In like 3 years, it's going to come out David Wright hasn't had a spine since like 2013. So we're going to feel really bad if we start blaming him. So let's just keep the blame on Duda for now.
I mean, we know that. That's not going to come out. We know that. It's 100% true. That's a fact.
Can you do me a favor? Just to even this out, can we play the David Wright home run? Because honestly, that moment is so fucking cool. And like, had they just won the World Series like they absolutely should have, that moment with Joe Buck calling it, the captain, and like that should have been an all-time baseball moment that is just completely forgotten because they led 89% of the innings played. They never trailed until they lost the game every fucking game. And that,
you know what it was?
I mean,
they were riding so high.
A towering, colossal home run, like perfect David Wright swing with the Joe Buck call and a big blowout. That should have been the lasting image, and instead, look at this. Can we get audio or no? It's so good.
No.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. A bomb, bro.
I'll get you the audio.
This was so cool. Such a good moment. I feel like it was going to set the tone and change everything. And then it just didn't. It just didn't do any of those things.
David Wright's swing was so goddamn beautiful.
So good. Look at this. Pow! I mean, look at that.
I love the 171 average, too.
I love the way David, like, after he follows through, he kind of holds the bat out, looking at it. Like, it's not quite a bat flip. It's almost just, like, a little bit admiring his work, puts us in the lead, and it was just like, God. I remember going into that series, and I mushed it more than anybody with the contact and all that. But I remember as soon as the Royals clinched, I was like, we're going to win the World Series. We're a better team than them. Like, we will beat this team. And we basically did, except that we didn't. I mean, it's one thing to lose when you should have won. It's one thing to lose when you led most of the games. To lose in 5 games. I mean, when you look at the box score, that's just like, oh, well, the Mets got trounced. And, like, we didn't. We really didn't. It's sickening, man.
Can I ask you guys a question about this bracket, how you're going about it? Because in terms of, like, Mets misery, is this Mets misery? Is this LOL Mets? Like, you know, you see the dildo in the background is on one. Like, I mean, that's like a LOL Mets moment. That doesn't make me miserable at all. But, like, the Duda throw made me miserable. I think that makes me more miserable than Madoff. Madoff, like, has always been this, you don't know when it happened. It wasn't like a single moment, like, oh, we suck forever. I guess if you can't count it as a lingering thing.
Madoff, like, ruined the franchise. So I think, see, the dildo Plavlecki locker is about the Mets PR, like, nightmare, you know?
Yeah.
Which is, like, it's a funny moment, but it's a bigger issue of just, like, God, off the field, these guys always shoot themselves in the foot. So you know, yeah, it's a little bit of everything, and you definitely got to take into account whether we're talking about suicide or whether we're talking about, like, face pop.
You started with the 1 seeds. If Steve Cohen isn't a 1 seed, I mean, like is that not the most miserable you've been? That's the most miserable. I think that's the most miserable I've been. Maybe Beltran, but that's right there.
Yeah, Cohen was certainly devastating. It was more of like what didn't happen though. You know, it's almost like you know, if we like we could have drafted Mike Trout, but it didn't happen. So it's more of like this is what could have been versus these are all things that did happen. But let's get right into it. Beltran caught looking 1 seed versus cutting Justin Turner. I mean, as a 16 seed, when you look at what Justin Turner went on to do in LA, I mean, that's nothing to just turn your nose up at. That's not really 16 seed material in now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons with the Dodgers. I mean, he had some. God, in 2014, he batted .340.
Oh God,
340 with fucking. He only had 7 home runs, but yeah, about 340. I mean, this guy in 2017, 2018 had an OPS of almost 950. Like, this guy's a nice player. So the fact that we're looking at him as a 16 seed is particularly disgusting. But yeah, I mean, obviously we can all agree here. Beltran caught looking. Although I don't blame him personally for, dealing with this curveball from hell from a rookie that went on to be like a Cy Young kind of guy. I think, nothing anybody could have done with that pitch, but more symbolic of just falling short in the 2006 season.
Yeah, Beltran caught looking is our modern. Actually, I think Madoff is like the 72 UCLA team with Walton. That was just a wagon that just would crush anyone. Beltran is so clearly when they do the seedings, this is so clearly the number 2-1 seed. And probably, I don't know, because if Beltran doesn't get caught looking, at least we get the World Series before Madoff comes in and just wreck shit. And I'm fine, man. I just need one. That's all I fucking need, Kevin, is one.
I think I just wish that game, I wish they didn't rally. I wish they didn't load the bases. God bless
the Endy catch.
I wish that LaDuca just, grounded out and that it didn't have to fall on our MVP's shoulders. There's just a million different ways that game could have ended where it would have just been like, all right, we lost the game. We lost the series. We were clearly better than them. We had some injuries. They had some magic. So be it. But the fact that it had to end in this symbolic way where Beltran gets, his reputation and legacy ruined, it was just kind of the worst way that you could lose. So, motherfucker, this mother.
Now, you said the Endy Chavez catch, and people have done these lists. Is that the greatest forgotten moment ever? So there's the dude on the Seahawks who made that crazy. It was a curse that made the catch in the Malcolm Butler game, right? It's Endy Chavez. It would be like if the Giants lost after the Tyree helmet catch, right? It would be the same level.
I did blog this. Let me see if I can pull it up because I put together a list of most forgotten moments. Yeah, here it is. I wrote.
And it's forgotten, but they play it every single postseason. That's in the commercial, which is just as heart wrenching that you have to keep watching it over and over again.
I mean, we are not going to forget it. Mets fans will always remember Endy, but it's more of the same thing with the right home run. That should go down as a sports moment that everybody remembers, and instead it's only going to be us. So I blogged this November 4th, 2016. And I did it after the Rajai Davis home run. So I think that's what inspired me. That game, Rajai Davis off of Aroldis Chapman, which should have won the World Series. I mean, he's rounding for his fist in the air. It should have been an iconic moment. Aroldis Chapman is just looking like, what the fuck just happened? And then the rain delay from heaven comes, sent down from, I think, all of the old dead people from Chicago the last 108 years up in heaven or down in hell, got together and cashed in their one, afterlife ghost moment and bring us on this fucking rain delay in the middle. That doesn't get talked about enough. A rain delay in the middle of Game 7 of the World Series, 9th inning, or was it extras? It might have even been extras. It's just what? And that everything comes down. They're able to rally, and Rajai Davis goes down, as a nobody instead of one of the biggest heroes in sports history.
And that was two legendarily haunted franchises, like the Cubs and the Indians. It was just them playing each other was preposterous, that it was these two teams that just could never win a World Series. I mean, the Cubs are the Cubs. They're the model of this. And then the Indians have a whole fucking movie, 2 movies made about how they can never win the World Series, right? So
they're up 3-1. They didn't just lose, they collapsed. So it was as heart-wrenching as it gets. But I said, in no particular order, 2006 Game 7, Endy Chavez catch. Jermaine Kearse with 33-yard catch to set up the Malcolm Butler interception. I mean, that catch, that was the moment too. I looked at my buddy. I was in Hoboken. I know exactly where I was. I was in Hoboken at a house party in the Super Bowl, and I turned my head and I said we, because in those moments I become whoever the Patriots are playing. I said, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Like they're going to win. Beast Mode's going to fucking walk in, and there's not enough time on the clock. This game's over. And we obviously all know what fucking happened there. I said, this is one that I even forgot that I blogged it. Marcus Page with that double clutch 3 with 5 seconds left to tie Villanova, and then UNC comes back with that Hail Mary shot. That was the one where you had they had MJ's reaction. He was sitting behind the bench and he was like, "Holy shit, I can't believe that just happened." That one is completely erased from my mind.
I got goosebumps when you just said that. I literally got goosebumps thinking about that shot. I mean, we had it so fucking good as that couple year period. There was just chaos happening every fucking championship round. And someone said it too. The Indians blew a 3-1 series lead after the Warriors blew one to the Cavs. So it was like Cleveland got both sides, and those fuckers in Cleveland were riding those 3-1 jokes. I mean, the entire the fuckers in Cleveland were riding that. I kind of like that they got it back at them because there was a point. I'm also like a Warriors guy. I like the Warriors. I was kind of happy to see Cleveland get it shoved back in their face.
Yeah, big time karma real quick on that one. How about this one? People forget about this. Alfonso Soriano, 2001 World Series, 8th inning, Game 7. He hits that home run off a Schilling, and it should have been the 9/11 World Series clinching homer. And then Mariano blows it to Luis Gonzalez and Tony Womack, and Alfonso just gets forgotten about. He gets traded for A-Rod, and poof, your Yankee pinstripes are gone.
Holy shit, man! I Soriano's a name that he was on the teams that won all those he won a couple rings with the Yankees, right? That wasn't.
No, I don't think he did.
He was like Don Mattingly. He missed the fucking. He missed how that all went. Where he
got there for the 90s. He maybe was on the Subway Series team. But I don't know.
He had 9 games in 99, 22 games in 2000. So I'm sure he has a ring in his house somewhere.
But even that, he wasn't, in 99, he's, he doesn't count. In 2000, I bet you he probably didn't even make the postseason roster. Maybe he's nothing there, And then in 2001 was his coming out party a little bit, 18 home runs. 2002 was 39 home runs. Man, he had a run. Look at this. 2002 through 2006. 39 home runs, 38 home runs, 28 home runs, 36 home runs, 46 home runs, including almost a 40-40 season. He had 39 homers and 41 stolen bases in 2002. So, I mean, some historical play from Alfonso Soriano. And, he got a few more years. He played till 2003 with the Yankees. That was the A-Rod trade. But in 2001, if you go ahead and win them a World Series, he would have been. He came in 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting that year. So that was his rookie season, his full rookie campaign, and he should have had the series clinching homer.
In post 9/11, that probably ends up in a weird way that is 1 and 1A with Piazza's. Piazza's was so big because it was the first big moment.
Right.
He ended up winning the fucking World Series against Schilling and Randy, who were unstoppable during that run. Alfonso Soriano's Yankee career is completely different. And again, that's something I forget about until you say, I'm like, holy shit, that's right. This is my favorite thing is Alfonso Soriano in 2006. This is his first year with the Nats. He goes 277 with 46 bombs, 41 steals, 6th in the MVP. That's how juiced everyone was out of their mind.
That's crazy. I didn't realize he actually eventually got the 40-40 club. So that's 40-40 club is one of the the most illustrious, prestigious clubs. So a guy like him gets forgotten. How about and that game, by the way? That was a 1-1 pitchers duel. That was and then to lose, he hits a towering home run that should have won it. And instead, it's a jam job, bloop single that gets it done. So
it's the greatest close we'll ever see in our entire lives. That's the thing is Mo comes in and you're just this shit's over.
That's why this is why I love baseball though. That the infield being in is the problem there. Otherwise, Jeter, knowing Jeter, he would probably catch it and dive and fall on the ground and roll around. But everything in baseball leads it all comes together to be that moment. So there's a moment. How about Aaron Rodgers with the Hail Mary against the Cardinals at the end of regulation?
Yep.
So like the Cardinals just go on to win that in overtime. But that was in the middle of Aaron Rodgers' Hail Mary run where it was just like every other fucking minute he was bombing like a 60-yard one.
And the way football was going back then, like that team wins the Super Bowl. Like that's just how it goes. Like the Cardinals almost won the Super Bowl when they won that game, right?
Right.
They go all the way there, and without the fucking Santonio Holmes play or fucking James Harrison's run that was on TV the other day, and I just caught like it happened and catching the corner of my eye. It's an unbelievable moment that like.
How about that? How about this? I'll give you $200 million if you can tell me who hit the shot before Christian Laettner's shot to give Kentucky the lead.
The only guess I could have is Mashburn. That's the only thing I can say is Mashburn.
Sean Woods hits this floating bank shot over Christian Laettner in overtime, and like that should have been the one that seals it, but somehow Grant Hill gets the perfect pass. How about what did I do here? I said the reverse. Memorable moments from Carlton Fisk's big home run, that Game 6 home run, waving it, doesn't matter. Jerry West puts up 53 points in the NBA Finals in a Game 7. He put up a triple-double in Game 7, 53 points in Game 1, averaged 38 points for the series, and they lose. That's the only time an MVP has come from the losing team.
Yep. Jerry West is low-key filthy, too. Like, you just, like, see some of the stats he's had or some of, like, the stories they tell about him. I mean, he's the fucking logo of the league, and people just forget and he's, like, one of the greatest GMs in the history of the sport. He was just, like, made by, like, he's, like, James Spaulding's ghost, basically. Like, created that guy.
I think had the Cavs forced 7 in the year that they still lost, I bet LeBron would have won the MVP.
Yes, agreed.
The second, that was when he like averaged a triple-double for the series. I think you got to go 7 if you're ever going to lose if you're ever going to win it in a losing effort. But I think and they lost in 6, I think. But that I think that would have had to be the second time because that to me was LeBron's most impressive finals. It was the one he didn't win.
Yeah, that's how it works sometimes. It's weird like that. And like the way those Warriors teams were, like Steph never really like came out and just killed it, and Clay would have his moments, but it was always like Iguodala wins the first MVP of that the first Cavs Warriors, which then it's like the Cavs Love was hurt, Kyrie was hurt because he's always fucking hurt. The one great series with the block by James is the only one where I think everyone was full strength the entire time. Yeah. And it was like an even matchup as close as it could be. So
I think you need to have an MVP and like a MIP, like most important player.
Yeah.
Because, Iguodala had like the series of his life, but like, come on. We're talking about like LeBron and Steph Curry and like, those are the guys that need to be winning hardware for these events. But
I always think there should be an MVP and a best player. Like the best player in the league was Jordan every year, LeBron. But if you want to say most valuable for whatever weird reasons that always end up making these things people go crazy, I'm down for that. So that's the thing about Beltron too, is that ended that season, and we then would have played the Tigers in the World Series, and I say we would have run through them like the Cardinals did, but like. We also lost to the fucking Royals. Like, is this team just so fucking like terminally ill that no matter what, we were going to die at some point? Like,
the Tigers very notoriously, and by the way, the game here has started at the bottom of the first. Nemo's up.
Strasburg.
The Tigers like notoriously threw the ball all over the field, and had they not, they were the far superior team. Everybody was superior to the Cardinals. Cardinals fucking barely over 500. So, had the Tigers not thrown the ball all over for the Mets, and you're going up against, Miggy and Maglio and all those guys, who knows what happened. But that team, though, the Mets were a fucking wagon, dude. And if Pedro and more importantly, El Duque was our Bartolo, but better. He was so good and so consistent. So if they were at full strength, I think they would have rolled through the Cardinals. I think they would have like swept the Cardinals in my mind. But when you're relying on Steve, the human rain delay Traxel, and Ali Perez, I just like, Of course he didn't win. You cannot be penciling anyone into a World Series when those are the players you're relying upon. So who knows? It's funny. We were talking about how we were going to do this live stream and whether we were going to get through the whole bracket. Well, we're on the first matchup, and we're talking about Andre Iguodala somehow. So I think we're going to be getting quite a bit of content out of this the Mets misery bracket. We'll probably be talking about this. This will probably carry us through until baseball resumes if we keep going at this rate.
Yeah, Mets misery versus coronavirus. I'll take Mets misery every single time in a fucking head.
It'll outlast the whole pandemic. So we're live right now. Mets simulated game is on. Brought to you by Coors Light. Drink your Coors Light. The Blue Mountains. Everybody, it doesn't matter what time it is anymore. Everybody can enjoy a nice cold one, and especially right now when you're kicking back and watching a ball game. Strasburg 2-0 right now. Nimmo on as a leadoff man. 3-0 now. Strasburg doesn't have it today, baby. Strasburg is one of these guys, and I think last year, finally, shut me up, close my mouth. But he was one of those guys I just wasn't afraid of for the longest time. Once he didn't pan out as the dude, I was like, yeah, he ain't that good. He's fine. He's not an ace. And then last year happened, and it was oh, he lived up to the hype. He's that dude.
I still, if there's ever baseball again, when we face him, I don't fear him.
I know, but we should. We should.
I don't know, man. It's such an asshole thing. The guy has a ring, and he dropped his nuts. But I just feel like Strasburg, he hit what he did, and I just feel like he's gonna kind of just go back to the old Strasburg now that he is. I mean, he just got paid too.
Yeah,
so I feel like that's part of it. But yeah, he's filthy.
I wonder. I'm trying to see here if I can look up his info versus the Mets, because you're right, and I feel like most Mets fans would agree with both of us that there are. I would rather face Strasburg over Scherzer a million times out of a million. But here, let me see. I think I can pull it up on Fox Sports. I bet you his numbers are going to be absolutely filthy against the Mets, and we just are ignorant to it. I felt the same way about Kershaw. We beat him a couple times, and then one time in the playoffs, and I was like, we got Kershaw's number. And then I looked up the stats, and I was like, no, we absolutely do fucking not.
It's because your brain completely checks out when you face him. You're like, well, we got this loss. We lost to Kershaw. And if you win, you're like, oh, we own this guy.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's all you can remember, right? I'm trying to Baseball Reference maybe has it. Fox Sports let me down. He it took him a while with his Tommy John and all that shit, but I think once now that he's cooking, I feel like he's the guy who he was supposed to be, because when he and Bryce were coming up together, it was they've got the best pitcher and the best hitter in baseball coming out, and there's no stopping him. And he obviously got sidetracked, but I think he's finally the pitcher he's supposed to be.
I feared I had sleepless nights thinking about those two coming up together, and then just the fact they only won one, and Harper wasn't even on the team, which is hilarious in its own right. That's how it all panned out. The fact that they only have one with those is almost like a W in my book, and that we made the World Series before them. I mean, I was at one of the games. Harvey's better. I was chanting that, and I still to this day say if Matt Harvey doesn't get hurt, he could have been better. Granted, that would also require him not to be an asshole, which would have been.
I know. Listen, I chanted Harvey's better. I was there. That was the night, the manhunt night that they caught the Boston Bomber. I was at the Harvey Strasburg game. We're chanting the whole time, and they put up on the board, and everybody started cheering. But I can't defend Matt Harvey anymore, man. UTIs aside, Tommy John aside. That dude never had the mental makeup to be the ace he should have been. There's no reason to believe he would have been that dude,
Yeah, I mean, Harvey had his chance. Granted, he was probably pitching well after he should have. But I mean, that game 5, like we talked about earlier, that was his moment. That's another moment. Matt Harvey, if he can just get those last 3 outs of game 5, even if he doesn't pitch again as a Met, he's the guy that got us to 6 and 7.
Right.
What was 6 and 7? Was it Syndergaard, DeGrom, or DeGrom, Syndergaard? I don't remember how the rotation was set up for those next.
I'm not going to remember that either. But either way, they're, if Syndergaard pitches like he can, anything can happen there. As we got 2 outs here. Nimmo's still on first. JD double.
Noah, Kev, we would have won the fucking World Series because Jake would have done Jake shit in 6, and then Noah and then it's all hands on deck. Fucking Jake probably is like the last 3 innings.
I hate to hear things like that. And you know what? I blame Terry Collins too, because I have no problem letting Matt Harvey try to finish it, especially with that Mets bullpen. As soon as he gives up that leadoff walk, gotta go. That you get one batter, the first man to reach base, you're gone. And so that was bad managing and a little bit too much hubris. That's a strike. Yep. So let's see what we got here. 2-2, 2-1, 2-1, 2 outs. Top of the first, Nimmo on first. Strasburg, 26 pitches here, making them work at least. I'll take that. That's all you can really hope for in the early going with these guys like Scherzer and Strasburg on the mound, is just get them out of the game as soon as possible.
I heard the J.G. Wentworth commercial on the other day, and I just was like, it brightened my entire day just because it made me think of J.D. Davis in baseball. It's so fucking sick and twisted how our lives are as sports.
J.D. Davis, 877 runs now. Let's go. Come on, give me J.D.
I missed the shit out of J.D. Davis too, man. I mean, that's your guy. I mean, that guy, like, was embraced by Mets fans quickly too.
He's my dude, and at the same time, I still was leading the charge to trade J.D. Davis because there we go. Fucking, I really believe that his value is at an all-time high. I think he's a nice player. I just don't know, and maybe this is the beginning of a David Murphy, Daniel Murphy, Justin Turner type of coming out party where he's just like actually a really fine player. But part of me also feels like, we got the Stroh show on the
show. All right.
Part of me just feels like that was his. That was as good as it's going to get. So what do we got for Stroman here? He has 1 start. Oh, nice. An ERA of 5.5. So opening his first turn through the rotation was not exactly Stroh show-esque. So we'll see if he can get on track here with his second start of the year. Stroman is that dude who, like, he's so cool on Twitter and he engages on social media. If he could just pitch well to back it up, he would be a Barstool fan favorite, no doubt.
That I'm going into this, whenever this season is, like, I'm almost scared that I'm going to hate him because last year I wasn't all that impressed with what he had, but I like him so much. It's like Bartolo was the perfect storm where we liked him and then he just got better and better, and it just like the most fun potential moment, and that's without him being on Twitter and really giving it back with us. I am so scared I'm just going to hate Marcus, and then I'm going to hate Marcus Stroman, the like Twitter guy and the cool guy who's awesome, because this doesn't help our team.
I don't like to admit it because I obviously was, Big Sexy is probably one of my greatest career accomplishments, and I like to say that Mets fans, there it is. That's actually, I got to give that we tag teamed that one. That was I gave him the nickname, and Clem came up with the idea to do the Andre the Giant logo. Trey Turner's so fucking fast. Did he just beat him? It was a ground ball to short. He's just like, nope, I'm safe. Clem had the idea to was he out? Oh, nice, he was out. Clem had the Andre the Giant idea, which that's why that shirt went totally viral. So we gotta believe was the one who put Big Sexy on the map. And I love the claim to fame that Bartolo played for 10 different teams, and Mets fans were the savvy ones who embraced him and knew exactly what they had. The Yankees fans never took to him. Athletics, Angels, everywhere, and nobody ever realized that they had one of the most charismatic fathletes of all time. These are the best fathletes ever. So I love that Mets fans were the team that knew that. But early going, I used to actually – he represented all that I hated about the Mets because they were like, let's go get the veteran who could eat innings and he's cheap and we don't have to worry about him. And I was like, fuck that. We should be getting an ace. And it turned out that he was kind of both. He was ace-like at times for us. And so I don't like to talk about how I used to, I used to talk some shit, but I'm the same way about Stroman. I like the guy. He's cool. But if he doesn't pitch well, all I can think of is how they botched that trade deadline and how idiots who thought that was a good move don't understand what's happening. So a lot of pressure on Strowman that really isn't fair, but those are the breaks.
I didn't realize you had that's a little Barstool Confessions for you. I had no idea you weren't a big sexy guy at first. I mean, it makes sense. Like, and he was also coming off a PED suspension, so it was peak Mets that they were going in the bargain hunting for in the bargain bin.
That was the thing. I was like, this guy is just a fat cheater, and that's it. So hang on, I'm gonna grab a Coke. But it was not really about him. It was more about the Wilpons. But nonetheless, I was talking shit.
Yeah, Meek Phil said he's scared the season isn't going to happen and they're going to lose Strowman for nothing. I'm with you, Meek. It would be peak Mets. Like the less the Mets get out of Strowman, the better I expect the two players the Mets traded to the Blue Jays to be. It's just one of those graphs where it's like whatever the peak Mets misery, or when we do another one of these goddamn brackets, we're going to have like Anthony K starts All-Star game at Citi Field in 2030 or something.
Tony Buckets, just hearing his nickname was when I was like, we lost a good one, Tony Buckets. By the way, we're brought to you by Coors Light. I'm also going with the Golden Bullet, the banquet beer, Coors Original. Now, Coors Light is for sure that shit, but my dad was a big banquet beer guy and used to instill the Golden Bullet in me. So I was at the store loading up before this shit really popped off, and I saw the pint here. I saw the 16-ounce tall boy, and I said, I got to go with the OG Golden Colorado. This thing is beauty. This is one of the best marketing, best packaging in all of marketing right here, this Golden Bullet.
That's a fucking – you put like a Golden Bullet down in like a revolver. Like that's a big one you're doing here. You're saying fucking some shit with that with a Golden Bullet.
Let's go back to our bracket here as we are in the bottom two, no score here in the Mets game. We'll say
hell yeah, the banquet gang. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's that might stick. You want to go to like the 2 seed, or you want to just go right down the line and do 8-9?
We'll do 8-9. So all right. So Beltran wins, obviously, right? Yeah. No offense to Justin Turner, which again, you said with Bartolo, Justin Turner. I honestly think a ginger, if he lets the hair go, he lets his personality, and he obviously, like, whatever he did, we're not going to say he was cheating. Whatever he's done, because from his power numbers go from 7 home runs in 2014 to 16 to 27 to 21 in bombs. If it's just, changing the angle of your swing, God bless. But a ginger who hits bombs, the shirts already sell themselves.
Oh, for sure. He looked like Tormund from Game of Thrones. He was a wilding. And have you ever seen Mrs. Turner, Clem?
I have not seen Mrs. Turner, but we're going
to – and Kyle, maybe can you Google her for me and put her on the screen? Justin Turner's wife or girlfriend, fiance, I'm not sure where they are in their relationship. Not only is she a motherfucking rocket, but she likes to mix it up on Twitter. And as much as she actually, still to this day, I don't know why, because, hey, you're out in sunny California. Your hubby is awesome. She has a grudge against the Mets. Like at every turn, she reminds people that the Mets let him go. So she's the type of woman who rides for her man. Yeah, she's a sexy little number, dude. And look at this fucking guy. That red beard is all up in her face, and who else knows where? And she's got a lot of she's not modest with a lot of her pictures. So she's out there, and she's out there in the Twitter streets. She would have been a primo figure. She would have been Anna Benson-esque with the whole I'm not worried that you might murder me at the same time.
Courtney with a K too. Courtney Pogue, I think her name is. So Courtney with a K, that's a little. I feel like Courtneys in general have a little spunk in them. Courtney with a K, that's gasoline. That's snorting cocaine and gunpowder. Whatever that fucking thing is called. That's
Courtney with a K is something. All right, let's go to the 8-9 matchup. This is for the right to essentially lose to Carlos Beltran. Although I don't know. I mean, we could see a 1 seed upset here because the 8 seed of Kevin Mitchell decapitating a cat versus a 9 seed K-Rod beating up his father-in-law. This is our first example here of true Mets dysfunction. We're not talking about, you struck out in a big spot playing baseball. We're talking about chopping heads off of animals and physically beating up family members. We're talking about criminal activity here in our 8-9 matchup. So this one, we obviously were not around for Kevin Mitchell. He is a bad dude. He is a bad person. The only thing I know about Kevin Mitchell on the field is when he made that barehanded running catch in the outfield. Yeah. That's like the highlight I have of him, like a fly ball down the line, hooking away, and he barehands it like a freak. But we were around, obviously, and lived through the K-Rod fiasco. I mean, him beating the shit out of his wife's father was one of our more embarrassing moments.
Yeah, like when you say it's LOL Mets versus Mets misery, it's like, oh god damn it! Like that feeling you have is part of the misery. It is also LOL Mets. The fact that Kevin Mitchell, it was his allegedly, well, say allegedly killed the cat. His girlfriend's cat makes it much more of a story because it's like you kill your own cat, it's fucked up in its own. To kill someone else's cat, like Dwight when he threw fucking sprinkles or whatever in the freezer of Angela's house in the office, like that is some sick and twisted shit on its own right. And the fact that we traded Kevin Mitchell, that's almost like that's not even on the list. Kevin Mitchell, 86, I got it here. Traded him and Kevin Armstrong, fresh off a World Series. Kevin Mitchell was like, I think he was like a huge prospect, right? Like they knew he was going to be legit.
What numbers did he end up putting up in his career? Did he ever pan out, or was he?
Oh, Kevin, he won the fucking MVP.
I did not know Kevin Mitchell was an MVP. What year?
I thought you knew that. Oh yeah, he won the MVP in '89. It's not even that far.
Holy shit! So, I thought he was like Dwight and Doc, Daryl and Doc. I thought he had like, I thought he never panned out. Clearly not. Clearly I was wrong.
No, they thought so. The stories I've gotten is I think they thought Kevin Mitchell was the bad influence on Doc Gooden when it was fucking Daryl. So they trade him for. I mean, I could just it's just a bag of balls. They traded him for Adam Jing and then Kevin McReynolds. Obviously, he's like the big name of it. Who was kind of like he went to battle with Mets fans. From what I could tell, the media didn't really like him because he was kind of like a quiet dude or whatever. He probably hated it here because he went from San Diego to fucking New York.
When I was a kid,
to the Giants, 1989. These are his numbers: 291, 47 home runs, led the league. 125 RBIs, led the league in slugging and OPS.
Yo, and 47 home runs
of 27.
47 home runs in 1989 is a fucking number, dude.
It's 1,000.
That is, that's like he must have been talking to Jose Canseco and Mark McGuire because that's a fucking number in that era. When I was a kid, I obviously Kevin McReynolds and Kevin Elster. I love both of them because they were the Kevins, and I picked Kevin. Like when I had to pick my favorite Kevin, I picked Kevin Elster because I just thought he was a better looking dude, and he ended up being a fucking scrub. So that was the wrong choice. But
can you imagine if you could have picked Kevin Mitchell, the guy who killed his girlfriend cat and was hitting 49 home runs for the Mets? He would have Kevin Mitchell, I think, in RBI baseball too. He put him off the bench. Guy can hit fucking bombs, which you have to add to his legacy as well.
The only player better off the bench is Tony Armas in Boston. 43 bombs sitting on the bench in RBI baseball.
It's basically the Konami code. Like Tony Armas is the Konami code as just one player. Like it's so unfair that you can replace Spike Owen because defense doesn't matter. After like one home run. My buddy would be the Red Sox. He's a diehard Yankee fan too, and for some reason he chose the Red Sox in that game. And I'm like, it's a fucking nuclear bomb. You just could replace fucking Spike Owen with Tony Armas.
It's funny. It's funny that not only do they have the best player probably in the game on the bench, they had the worst player on the team as well that you could swipe out. So, what are you going with here? I mean,
yeah, I got to give K-Rod beating his father-in-law more credit. Like I'm here talking about Kevin Mitchell. Like, and this was K-Rod at this point, right?
The K-Rod era was like, he was awesome coming from L.A., Anaheim at that point, and he was, another. I gotta give the one thing I gotta give the Mets credit for is at least trying to fill their closer need. Yes. They've had a bunch of names and they've had a bunch of guys who will get you 40, 45, 50 saves. They just all happen to be a tightrope act every time. But from Armando to Billy Wagner to K-Rod, even like guys like JJ, when they had JJ Putz and Wagner or K-Rod, who was the Wagner. I mean, I remember being like, Woods is one of the best closers in out there in Seattle, and we're going to make him our setup man. We're good to go. And it just like never really panned out. So K-Rod was the next guy who, when he was on, what was it? It was a changeup was his big pitch.
Yep.
He had that nasty changeup that just the bottom dropped out of it. So I remember having real high hopes for him that at times he actually reached his potential. But that whole Tony Bernazard fighting like era was certainly not a good look.
And God, the Putz thing too. Like I remember they made that trade, and he goes to the World Baseball Classic. I think that's where he ends up like getting hurt at first, and then that's where it all went. And I never, to this day, I hate the World Baseball Classic because I'm convinced that's what fucked the Mets up. Even though there's 1,000 other things that would have went wrong that way, it just kills me. So
cab drivers and World Baseball Classic, those are the Mets' Achilles heel. I'm gonna. I don't know what the vibe and the ramifications and the blowback was from Kevin Mitchell in the 80s. But I'm going to say that any story involving animal mutilation, chopped a head off of a fucking cat in a domestic dispute. That's got to advance.
No, I'm in 100%. It's almost like an urban legend at this point. Like I feel like I guarantee if you go on Snopes, it's out there, and it may not even be true. But the fact it's gotten this much legs, where it's on this tournament, it's just accepted as truth. And that '86 team, you could do a whole tournament on the '86 team, just like the chaos that they did back then.
Right, right. That kind of gets swept under the rug because of some of the bigger names and stories in '86. That '86 team. But what do you got, Kyle?
The Bad Guys Won, that book that's about the 1986 Mets. Mm-hmm. In that book, it said that Kevin Mitchell and Darryl Strawberry were coming up in the minors, and they got into a scuffle on the basketball court, and they told Mitchell, that guy's untouchable, like he's the golden child. And yep. Mitchell went to his car to get his baseball bat to go like break his legs. So 1,000% decapitated the cat.
Which, by the way, if you have not read The Bad Guys Won, and not even as a Mets, you can read that just as a sports fan, or just like if you're interested in great pieces about like human behavior. When they did steak shoes, they strapped steaks, like the food steaks, to their feet and stomped around the private plane, just yelling steak shoes, to the point that I think it was Delta, whatever airline they used to fly with, said, we will no longer fly the New York Mets because they are like terrorizing our flight attendants and ruining our jets. So Bad Guys Won by Jeff Pearlman, all-time book. You got to read it.
Shout out, fact that that's not a movie.
New York.
Shout out who?
Jeff Pearlman. He's from my town, Mayapack. So
that's a hell of a book. We move on here. This is an absolute no-brainer. I love the Anna Benson, Mrs. Claus outfit story. Anna Benson is a fucking lunatic. The Chris Benson experiment, yet again, was one of those things where, like, hey, the Mets tried to do it. They went and got a former number one pick on the cheap. It was a move that I think, made sense. Like, let's try to get this guy who never like truly reached his potential, but maybe he will for us. Maybe he could be our ace. Hey, on top of it, he's got this hot girlfriend, whatever, no big deal. Oh, wait a minute. Turns out she's a fucking lunatic who would threaten to kill you and chop your dick off if you ever cheated on her. Oh, wait a minute. She showed up to our holiday party charity event dressed like a fucking whore. A lot of great stories coming out of that whole saga. But Duaner Sanchez in the cab ride cost us a World Series.
It cost us a goddamn World Series. And again, the Duaner Sanchez is, for me, the butterfly effect moment, the sliding doors. With Duaner Sanchez doesn't get into that car accident. They don't need to find relief help to get that eighth inning spot. They don't trade for Roberto Hernandez, which means they don't trade for Ali Perez. Ali Perez pitched great in Game 7, but we all know we're still chasing Ali Perez to become that lefty guy we all want him to be. So then all the Duaner Perez,
Xavier Nady's gone. Great bat for us.
Bat we need, and we have to go after Moises Alou, who gets hurt and he never works out. And that moment, Duaner Sanchez went out to get some nice, Dominican food or whatever the fuck, Latin food in the middle of the night in Miami, or party or whatever the fuck it was. And I think I said this last episode. I was told by someone on Twitter, and they have no reason to lie. I don't know if it's true or not. They said Duaner's mom begged him, crying. She said, I have a bad feeling. Don't go out tonight. And he still went out, gets into the car accident, and the rest is history. I honestly think this could have been higher than a 5 seed.
I agree.
Like a Duke team that loses their like star player for like the first 2 months of the season. Their record isn't good, so they like are. But it's Carmelo with Syracuse. They're a live 5 seed. Like Syracuse, I think was
honestly. I'm looking at this bracket. I think that Duaner Sanchez might come out of this region for me. We'll see how it all pans out. Because at a quick glance, I'm also seeing Kaz Matsui anal fissures. That's a Cinderella written all over it. But Duaner Sanchez with those glasses, him and K-Rod as a mirror of each other. Duaner Sanchez was so fucking important. He was so good, so underrated. He was basically a closer in a reliever's role. And if he doesn't go down, the Mets absolutely win the World Series. So in a cakewalk. What?
Let's not forget, then our closer as he gets older. So we don't have to chase all these fucking closers. He was 26 years old in 06. He let's see what his stats were. His stats
what
right. 26-year-old.
He just like never recovered and never like played again, or what? Like
he didn't play in 07, so I guess he was just so fucked from in 07. And then 08 he comes back, 4.3 ERA, 9 ERA in 09 with the Padres, and then he's out of the league from there on out. So
we're upset by Duaner Sanchez in the cab ride. Think about Duaner Sanchez. He just watched millions disappear. And you know what? Looking back on it now, like I don't know what I thought in the moment. I don't know how naive I was. Duaner Sanchez was not going out in the middle of the night to get food. Yeah, dude, I don't even know if he was in a cab. This whole story now stinks to high heavens when you think about it. And like, how bad could the accident have been that he like ripped his shoulder up and like something? I'm gonna go back and revisit that because I think 2006 me was a little too naive on that one. But either way, Duaner Sanchez rides easily through, takes a cab ride right into the second round. Can you pull the game up for me, Kyle? What's going on in the Mets Nats here? As we pull up the game here, we'll start to look at the next matchup. Jason Bay. Everyone else has like a moment or a thing, but just the existence of Jason Bay is a 4 seed. So we'll get to him in a second, but we want to check in on the game first here. Still no score, bottom of the third. Stroman at 33 pitches, so with already 2 out in the third. So very economical for him thus far. If he can get out of this inning here quickly with Victor Robles at the plate, Stroman's actually cruising pretty easily.
Yeah, based on the chat room too, there's a lot of anger at the coaching staff. Apparently, they sent someone home on a shallow fly ball. He got thrown out. So the Mets are doing Mets things right now. Scooney54 just let us know. I saw a couple people were like, "Why would you send him there?" So
oh my god, that was like opening day when they lost in 11. Didn't they do something stupid? They like put somebody in that they shouldn't have, or
they never went to, Familia, thank God. They never went to Lugo or Diaz, obviously. I think Gazdelman was in the game. And then obviously Jake Marisnik being up bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, bases loaded, just needs to get a run in, and he doesn't. We're watching the 2020 MLB Mets season right now. This is exactly how it would have played out.
If we play baseball this year, or even at this point next season, and the We Gotta Believe fan base is, if they've been watching these live streams, if they've been following along with us, and then all of a sudden we're going to be watching real games, and there's going to just be so much hatred for Jake Marisnik with him not having played a single game. He's going to be like coming out to the plate to boo birds for no reason other than we watched him play a video game and we decided that he's the white Juan Lagares, he's John Large, and we just fucking hate him. That poor guy, his Mets career is over before it even started.
I could see like Marisnik leaving the dugout, like going like from the on-deck circle as he's being announced, and he hears the boos, and he's like looking around like, is someone on the field right now? Like, what's going on? Like, no, we're booing you cocksucker, because you speak in the
okay, Jason Bay versus 13 seed Brandon Nimmo eating undercooked chicken, getting salmonella or whatever it was, food poisoning, and being out. Brandon Nimmo has just been a calamity of errors ever since he started. I just don't like the guy. I think it's because he's overly religious. I don't like the white scrappy hustle Like I'm the only guy who loves like Robinson Cano and Manny Machado not hustling. I just love the swagger. I love Manny Machado when he was like, bro, I don't need to run hard. I'm fucking Manny Machado. I love Robbie Cano having a great swing and not really running hard. And I can't stand Nimmo sprinting down to first base on a hit by pitch or hustling on a walk. All that shit just really bugs me because all of it speaks to this it's the bigger picture of like, you're a fine player. And I mean, I'm joking because I do appreciate players who try hard, but like you got to do all that because you're just not that talent. Like you're just not that gifted. And so I want guys who are $30 million a year, bomb squad, talented guys. I don't need the scrappy hustlers, or at least I need them, but I need them to be batting like seventh, and I need them to be like a nice spark plug and not like our leadoff man or a middle of the lineup bat that we're relying upon for real production.
There's going to be a moment, hopefully, I should say hopefully, where the Mets will be in the playoffs and it's going to come down to a Brandon Nimmo moment. And this will be the ultimate like moment of our fan base and friendship. And I'm not a Nimmo believer, like a diehard, like some of them are. I just think this guy is going to do something, and it probably won't be with the Mets. It'll be like Justin Turner. He'll go to another team and he's just going to be the pain in the ass. He's going to be like David Eckstein was against us and all those little fucks. And I'm with you though. Like he's from Wyoming. He's always smiling. He's kind of creepy, and he had to get cooking lessons because he fucking poisoned himself with undercooking the chicken. I read it originally as a chicken nugget, which I didn't even know you could end up like getting sick from chicken nuggets. But I think it was like legitimate chicken like breasts or whatever. I don't know, man. I also think those guys, those Manny Machados, they drive you crazy when they're on your team, and they just don't give a fuck. Kind of a thing, right? So
you gotta back it up. It's like when Manny Machado is, striking out in the World Series. You can't have that. If you're not going to run hard and then you're going to double down on not running hard, you have to make sure that you're always able to do a home run trot. Because the minute that you fuck that up, you're going to get shit on twice as hard. I'm
actually interested to see. Like, I feel like this matchup is almost kind of interesting in that Bay. For all the shit everyone gave Bay, everyone said, well, at least he's trying, right? And that's like Nimmo, he cares and he tries. It's just he was so fucking bad, Jason Bay, and we knew he was going to be bad. It was like when the Knicks signed Joakim Noah to the deal, and we're like, well, that's a disaster.
That's over. I mean, instantly, the ink was dry, and it was like, whoops. What was it? It was Matt Holliday was the other like big free agent, and the Mets nickel and dimed it. And, Holliday, let me see. Matt Holliday, I think he signed for big money, but nothing crazy, I don't think. But, the Mets went with the cheap fucking option that was just like, well, you could either do this for real. You could go get a real fucking bat that actually is going to do something, or you can just, be a little fucking bitch about it. And we went with Jason Bay, and it was just like, well, there's a symbolic signing that we could have done it the right way, and we didn't. And so that was another one where Jason Bay was already starting behind the eight ball with me, where it was like well, all right. So the Cardinals was 120 million. So the Mets were never gonna do that. But I think he ended up like delivering on that contract. I think he was really a good player. So that would have been a better option than fucking, whatever. I think the Bay was what? Like, how much was that?
I'm looking here. So he got, let's see, what's the actual contract number?
66 million. 4 years, 66 million. And Holiday was 120 over. He got 17 million a year. So think of that. So the Mets pay what? Like 13, 14 a year for Jason Bay, just a shorter length, versus 17 a year for Holiday over the long haul. And Holiday ends up being the much better player.
And Holiday's basically doing 325 for like 5-6 years in a row. Where we have to actually put Jason Bay's numbers out there now. Unfortunately, 259 his first year. So this is in Citi Field now, where you can't. And this is like moving in all the fences because they fucking botched it. Which Citi Field is on this goddamn bracket, of course, because they really fucked that up. His first year with the Mets, 259, 6 home runs, 47. The Ray Ordonez numbers. Then he goes 245, 12 home runs. And then I must have blocked 2012 from my memory. 165, 8 home runs, 20 RBIs.
How many games was that?
He played as a Met, as a New York Met.
No. That one season that he batted $165.
70. 215 plate appearances. So that's
a long time though to be batting $160.
Yeah.
Like if you told me that was like a 30-game season for him, fine, whatever. You played half a year at $160, 6 home runs, 12. He hit 26 total home runs for the Mets.
His entire career as like a Met, basically. So his entire 3 years, 10, 11, 12, he hit 26 home runs and 124 RBIs. Matt Holliday, his first season, that season with the Cardinals, his first year, 28, 103.
I was gonna say, average. Like that was one season for Matt Holliday. And, like the Mets just didn't want to go 5, 6, 7 years, and they end up getting 4, Would you rather get 0 production out of 4 years or go the extra distance, sign a 7-year deal, and actually have a Major League Baseball player, and a good one at that? You know what? Looking back at that now, and now I'll say that, maybe Duaner Sanchez in the Cab has some competition with the 4 seed, because it's not just Jason Bay. That is just, if I ever need to explain to people why I hate the Wilpons, it's that right there. That is the perfect tie it up in a little bow, everything in a nutshell. You could have had Matt Holliday for $17 million per year. You signed Jason Bay for $14 million per year, and you got 0 production versus like top 10 production every fucking year. That's the Cardinals are the Cardinals. That's why the Mets are the Mets.
Yep. That's why you just have to put Jason Bay. You don't have to write anything else. You just say Jason Bay. Don't say Jason Bay's contract. Jason Bay bats 185 per year. The first year with the Mets, he gets $8.5 million, 18 mil, 16 mil the year he bats 165. And then they buy him out and he makes in 2013, he makes $18 million to not play for the Mets, $3 million in 2014.
You know what all of that was? That was they were just salivating over the idea of that first year only being $8 million. They had visions of like 30 home runs for $8 million where they could just jerk off to that. And instead they got nothing, and it serves them fucking right. You cheap, dumb, fucking assholes. Fuck you. And Jason Bay, it's not really his fault. Like, of course, sign the contract. He was probably like, oh, I can't believe they're going to give me 60, whatever, let's do it. But, his Canadian ass didn't live up to a single dollar of that contract. So fuck everybody involved. Jason Bay cruises into the second round there. The 6-11 matchup. Oh, my God.
This is another one I think is underseeded, personally.
The Shea Stadium closing down the stadium ceremony in 2008 after the Mets get eliminated on game 162. I was there. I was at that game. CC was on the Brewers. He gets the job done, and the Brewers win. I don't remember who the Mets were playing. Was it the Marlins? I think it was the Marlins, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Marlins played end of the season spoilers for like 2 or 3 straight years. I remember Hanley Ramirez. My mom still motherfucks Hanley Ramirez to this day. She calls him Henley Ramirez, because there was that story about him pregame laughing it up on game 162, going, we're gonna beat, like we're gonna end your season. We're gonna end your season, and then they fucking did, and they were supposed to have the red ribbon ceremony with, I think, Piazza and like Tom Seaver were there to close down Shea one more time. And they still went through with it after losing in heartbreaking fashion. I know that like when the PR group plans these things and you have these big moments, you can't just like not do them. But there's got to be someone making an executive decision saying, all right, we're going to do it unless we lose. If we lose, we'll do it like a week from now when everything calms down. But you can't have the big ceremony after back-to-back seasons. You went Beltron looking to the 2007 collapse into the 2008 collapse, which gets overlooked because it's not as bad as 2007. But 08 was just as despicable as 07 was. And they go ahead with this fucking party ceremony. That was as tone deaf as it gets.
It's one of those things that where you're looking back, you're like, that was doomed. Like, that's why you can't do that. So I'm sure every other team that closes the stadium is like, well, we learned from the Mets mistake of 2008 to do our ceremony before. Like, it was nice to have Seaver to Piazza close the stadium, then Seaver to Piazza open Citi Field in 09, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can't do it for that's why David Wright can't have his speech after the game, because he pops out in the 5th, which we were at, or whatever it was, then doesn't play. It goes extra innings. Half the fucking fans leave because they don't think the game's ever going to end against the goddamn Marlins again.
Always.
No one cares as David Wright is like in a half full stadium saying goodbye to his
gives the worst speech ever.
The worst speech ever.
I thought it was at least going to be like a tearjerker and a moment. And he was just like, guys, thank you so much. And that Michael Jackson voice was like, well, that wasn't fucking worth it at all. Is that on this? Is the David Wright? I mean, that was probably only a memorable bad moment if you were there. We were there with your buddy, and I remember being like, boy, I just want to get the fuck out of here. I don't want to stick around anymore. And it was horrible for everybody there, but I don't know about at home. But yeah, we have not had any sort of luck with ending careers or ending stadiums. That was one of the more embarrassing ones. So 6 seed versus 11 seed. Mickey Callaway and the Mets batting out of order against the Reds. Wasn't that like the first week of the season too?
It was early. I think it was
early on. It was like, oh boy, Mickey Callaway. When I say Mickey Callaway doesn't know how to coach, I mean he like literally does not know the physical logistics of coaching.
The guy doesn't know the rules of baseball, and he's supposed to be a baseball manager. It's
right.
Like one of
not
those,
good.
Or a riddle at all times. The thing that makes you feel better about the batting out of order, which like is peak LOL Mets, like Brendan said, that's LOL Mets, and the misery doesn't hurt as much because especially like after it happened and Twitter just like dunked on us for like an hour, like it's like the Phillies batted out of order like the month before. It's like it's happened recently. That makes me feel better. The Mets one, I wasn't there. I had season tickets in 08 and 09 because we didn't know how hard it was going to be to get tickets at Citi Field because the Mets might be good, all that stuff. And we did a draft for him because I think it was like me and 8 other guys. So there was 9 of us. We do like everyone got 9 games. He did a draft. It was a ton of fun. I was gutted when I didn't get that last game at Shea. It's like finding out like you're supposed to go to Chernobyl the day.
Yeah, I was supposed to fly on 9/11 that day, and I didn't go. You dodged a serious bullet on that one. I have so much love in my heart for Shea Stadium. I don't think I think it was a fine stadium. I don't think it wasn't embarrassing like the Vet in Philly, and it wasn't doesn't have quite the history of like Fenway. But it was a fine park, and I like it because it was normal. It was 378 and 378 in the gaps, 408 to dead center, like 330 something down the line. It was just a normal baseball field, all uniform. It wasn't a bandbox. It wasn't a pitcher's park. It was just a normal playing field, which sounds silly, but after going through the hell that was Citi Field being this like cavernous Ebbets Field throwback, it was nice to just be like, well, pitchers can pitch here, and they're not going to like flip out about their career, and hitters can hit here. We're fine. And it had I hated the color coding of the seats was just gross, but it almost became like it warmed my heart, and it was like gross green seats and red seats and all that shit. But I remember the big Pepsi thing and the big signage and all that shit. It was good. It was a good home.
I do think it's been romanticized a little. Like people saying I'm a Shea. Like I would go to Shea in September or in April or like sometimes on like a cold summer night, and the winds would
wind was whipped.
Cold concrete. The food sucked. It was like you paid $7 for hot chocolate, and it was just the cheapest shit they could get, watered up and whatever. It sucked. A lot of things about Shea sucked. but it did have like it was like the Mets. It sucked, but it had soul. The Apple, the giant neon guys outside. Darren, I want those. I know it's hard to get those shirts. I want those neon shirts back on the fucking market. I love those goddamn things. I love there was a lot of nice charm. The big scoreboard, like it was kind of like it wasn't a dump like vet, but it was like our dump, and we loved it. And the fact
that bleacher section was cool. Yep, I remember the Mo Vaughn home run hitting like halfway up the fucking the bottle. That was unbelievable. So there was some good moments. The neon characters was great. When the 7 Line started selling those hats, I think I actually have it.
That's the first time I learned about the 7 Line was through the hats.
Yeah, selling. Yeah, here it is. These hats right here were fucking awesome. And this one specifically, the catcher was the one. The other, it had the pitcher and the hitter, but the orange and blue catcher was awesome. And we ended up selling the Bartolo Big Sexy version. When he hit the home run, we had the outline of him in neon. So you're right. Like the actual experience wasn't that great, but the physical building had some cool shit to it.
I had the seats too. I got the Pepsi porch. That was
shit!
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Cool. That's very cool.
I'd crush that thing if I sat on it. So I had to go myself. I'm not going near it, but yeah. So I think
batting out of order was one of those. We caught shit for it. It should have been. It was definitely like writing is on the wall for Mickey Callaway. Like, oh boy, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. But I mean, as far as like memorable misery going down in the history books, it's Shea in a landslide.
Yeah, like the one where that guy's like crestfallen, that infamous Mets picture. Is that 07 or 08? Which is
when he's just like this, he's just like, oh my God, that's 07, but I'm sure he did in 08 too.
08 I remember there were some bad ones in 08. I mean, people said it was like going to a funeral and having to like stay for like, having a wedding after the funeral, basically.
Right.
Happened there. Having a party after a funeral is essentially. And this is the craziest thing. Like, again, another thing we could do. If anyone's out there, mark down all the things we said could be in another bracket, because we're going to have to make another bracket if this coronavirus keeps spreading around. And the fact that Jody Garrett hits the first batter at Citi Field is Jody Garrett, and he hits a home run off of Mike Pelfrey. That does not get enough love for just how fucking miserable that was.
Totally forgot. I didn't even realize that till right now. So yes, add that to the fucking list. Write that down. I have only a couple more minutes before radio, so I'm going to have to jump out. I don't know if you're going to keep it rolling or if you want to just put a pin in it for right now. But
this one we have to touch on, though.
This one is my favorite of the first round and certainly of the East region. 3 seed, Mr. Met flipping off the fan, which we put the shirts on sale. I hit the bonus in a day. that you might not understand as a fan. We have a system in place at Barstool. If you sell $50,000 worth of a shirt or of merch, you get a $5,000 bonus. So $50,000 of shirts is about 2,000 shirts. So you gotta, and we sell a lot of product here, but selling multiple thousands of shirts is a big deal. That's when you know you've got a live one on your hands. And usually you have a year to do it. If you can get $50,000 of revenue in 1 year, you will get a $5,000 bonus. I got it in a day because it's the most symbolic picture there is. And the way that GIF was, he does like a 360 and he's like, pow, unbelievable. Almost any other time, I'd say this is a cakewalk in the first round, but a 14 seed. And this is feeling like, I don't know, like George Mason in whatever, 11, I think. Kaz Matsui, anal fissures. I vividly remember watching ESPN and seeing the bottom line. There's the picture. There's the shirt. It's a beauty. It's some unbelievable artwork. The guys who drew it, we no longer work with. Fuck them. But they knocked that one out of the park. But I vividly remember the bottom line scrolling, and I was like, what did that say? And it was like Kaz Matsui on the 15-day DL for anal fissures. The dude, he ripped his asshole open. How did he do it? Was that just from like shitting?
I attribute not used to the food over here or something. He just had a bad case of the shits. And
I don't know what you got to do in order to have fissures in your asshole. Kaz Matsui had an unnatural tear in his anus skin. I'm opening up the article right here. This is from Bleacher Report back in 2008. Wait a minute. Hang on a second. We got to throw an asterisk on this. He was on the Astros at the time.
Really?
I was just speaking. I just said how vividly I remember it, but this says prior to opening day, Houston Astros second baseman Kaz Matsui underwent surgery to repair anal fissures, and he missed the first 3 weeks of the season. So I was going to say that this is going to be a Cinderella run in the East for a couple of rounds, but this is not a Mets moment.
This is the biggest one the Mets have had in years. Take it out of the books. Howie, take it out of the books.
Unreal. It says like we don't know how he got it. I'm reading here like no further details. But Kaz Matsui, he hit a home run in his first at bat as a Met. I thought that we had the next Ichiro on our hands. We move Jose Reyes, our franchise shortstop. We fuck with his whole first few seasons of his career to make room for Kazuo Matsui, and he ends up being an absolute catastrophe with a torn asshole. Didn't happen with us, but I think we can put Kaz Matsui kind of like Jason Bay. It's just kind of like him was the problem. But yeah, not a Met when he ripped his asshole.
What? The breaking news. I feel like this is a breaking story, even though it's like 10 years old. It definitely feels like I'm shocked.
I'm looking at. He only played for the Mets for 3 seasons, not even 2.5, because he got traded mid-season to Colorado and then ended up with the Astros. But 2004, he batted 272, 255, 267.
He was Mr. Opening Day too, because I think he hit bombs on opening day twice, if not 3 times. I think one was an inside the Parker too. Is that am I making that up?
I remember that. Yeah, he was 6th in Rookie of the Year voting, so his rookie campaign wasn't terrible. He batted 272, OPS is 730. He had 32 doubles. Nothing horrific, but he never played more than 114 games. 87 games in 05, only 70 games in 06 once he got traded. So he was not durable. He had 0 power. He only hit 13 total home runs in his time with the Mets. Didn't really hit for average. Didn't really steal any bases. I don't remember him being a defensive wizard by any means. And when you're thinking that you got the next like Ichiro and that's what you get, for sure not. I mean,
23 errors in 2004.
Holy moly, you can't have that as what's supposed to be a star shortstop. And but listen, he didn't tear his butthole with us. And so in that case, you can't even, you gotta remove him from the bracket or he's a first round exit easy. Mr. Met flipping off the fans, strolls through to round number 2. It's one of the more symbolic things you'll ever see. That was art imitating life imitating art. And we got a lot of our East bracket done here. A couple more matchups to go through, but we'll call it here because I only got 2 minutes until radio, and we'll come back next week to continue Mets misery, and we'll try to line it up with hopefully another day game. And until then, gotta believe.